Hey guys, it's Alison and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be doing a TV show recommendation video. I love watching these videos and I always end up with a couple of new shows to add to my list, so I hope you guys enjoy it as well. So for the first part of the video, I'm going to be talking about shows that I have seen, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a summary and then talk about my experience. And then for the second half of the video, I'm going to talk about shows that I have not yet seen. So I'm going to give you guys a summary for those as well, and hopefully that will help you guys get a little bit of an idea of what those shows are about. So without further ado, let's get started. Also, if you guys see me looking down, it's because I have my computer down here with all of my notes for all the shows and stuff like that, so if I'm looking down, that is why. So the first show that I'm going to talk about is The Vampire Diaries. This is actually part of a 3-show universe, but I'm going to start with talking about The Vampire Diaries. So you're probably thinking cliche vampire story, and while it definitely is at some points, it is so good, the writing is incredible. But basically the show is about a teenage girl named Elena who lives in Mystic Falls, and when she returns to school in the fall, there is a new kid in town. His name is Stefan Salvatore, during the beginning of the show you find out that he's a vampire, and then he also has a brother, Damon, and there ends up being a love triangle between Elena, Damon, and Stefan. And then there's a bunch of other mystical creatures throughout the show. There's werewolves, sirens, witches, stuff like that, and it is so interesting. I love the show and I definitely recommend. So the next show that I'm going to talk about is The Originals, which is the second show in the Vampire Diaries universe, and it's actually a spin-off. In seasons 2 and 3 of the Vampire Diaries, we are introduced to the Michelson family, which consists of Klaus, Elijah, and Rebecca. And so in season 3 they end up having a spin-off show called The Originals, which takes place in New Orleans, and it kind of follows their family and kind of the lives that they live down there. The show is super good. It's written by the same person who wrote The Vampire Diaries, so it is so good. I've only watched the first 2 seasons so far, but it is already so good and I cannot wait to finish the show. I personally think it's better than The Vampire Diaries from what I've seen so far, but I'll leave that up to you to find out. I can't give a ton of details about the show because it will spoil things from The Vampire Diaries, but I definitely recommend watching it. It's such a good show. So really quick, the third show I'm going to talk about is Legacies, which is the third show in the Vampire Diaries universe. I haven't seen this show yet, but I've heard it's good. It's based on the kids from the Vampire Diaries and the Originals, so they kind of grow up and then have their own show. I don't know a ton about it, but I've heard it's good, so I definitely recommend if you liked the Vampire Diaries and the Originals to watch Legacies. So the next show that I'm going to talk about is Outer Banks. This show has such a fun summer vibe and I love that. This show is set in Outer Banks, North Carolina, and it follows a friend group of John B, JJ, Pope, and Kiara. And they live in an area called The Cut, which is like a lower class area of Outer Banks. And so basically these 4 friends go on a treasure hunt to find treasure that is linked to John B's missing father, and it's such a good show. There's romance, mystery, drama, and it is so good, and it definitely has such a fun vibe, and it makes me wish that I grew up on the beach. But yeah, so I definitely recommend this show. There is currently only 1 season and it has 10 episodes, and it's really good to binge watch, so I definitely recommend it for that. They are currently filming season 2, so I'm super excited for that, and I definitely recommend this show. So the next show I'm going to talk about is Stranger Things. So the show is set in Hawkins, Indiana, and it follows a friend group of Lucas, Mike, Dustin, and Will, and a girl named Eleven. So the show starts off with Will Byers going missing and Eleven showing up in town. So basically the friend group spends the whole first season looking for Will as well as befriending Eleven. The special effects on the show are incredible. They did such an amazing job, and season 3 is definitely my favorite. They left us on such a cliffhanger, and I'm pretty sure they're filming season 4 right now, so I'm super excited for that. So I definitely recommend this show. It is a super good kind of like sci-fi type show, and so I definitely recommend. So this next show I'm sure you guys have heard of, and it is The Office. The show is super funny. It follows a paper company called Dunder Mifflin and the people who work there. There's a lot of comedy, some romance, and definitely a little bit of drama, but it is super good. The episodes are like 20-ish minutes, so they're super nice to just like put on while you're doing homework or cleaning your room and stuff like that, and just kind of let play. My family also likes to just pick random episodes from seasons and just watch through. You don't really need to know a whole ton of background. I will say though, the first season does set up a little bit of background, so it is definitely not the most interesting one, but once you get past that, it gets a lot better. So I definitely recommend this show if you want a good laugh. So this next show I was actually recommended to watch by a friend, and it turned out to be super good. So this show is Jane the Virgin, and it is about a woman named Jane who vows to save herself for marriage, and then she is artificially inseminated and ends up pregnant on accident, which is an adventure. And so basically the show is about how she kind of deals with the fact that she's going to have a kid when she wasn't expecting one, and then there also ends up being a love triangle between her boyfriend at the time and then the father of the kid. It is a super interesting show. There's also some drama and a little bit of mystery involved, and it is such a good show. So this next show is also a comedy, and it is called The Good Place. So it is about a woman named Eleanor who dies on Earth and ends up in the good place. There's the good place and the bad place, which are kind of representative of heaven and hell. So when she arrives in the good place, she realizes that she doesn't belong because she was not the best person on Earth. So she spends the whole first season trying to figure out why she ended up in the good place and everything like that. It is a super funny show. The good place is kind of like all bright and bubbly and stuff like that, and it is not Eleanor's character, so it is super funny to watch her kind of interact with the people that surround her and stuff like that. The episodes are similar to The Office, where they're like 20-ish minutes. It's another good show to kind of just set to the side and listen to while you're doing other things. But yeah, so if you guys want another good comedy, I definitely recommend The Good Place. So now I'm going to talk about shows that I have not yet seen but are on my list. So all of these summaries I got off of Wikipedia or like the Netflix like description page, so that's what I'm going to be reading from. So this first show is kind of going off of the supernatural theme, and it is called Teen Wolf. I've heard a ton about this show from my friends, so I'm super excited to watch it. Teen Wolf revolves around Scott McCall, a high school student living in the fictional California town of Beacon Hills. Scott becomes the teenage werewolf of the series after he's bitten by an alpha male the night before his second year of high school, drastically changing his once ordinary life. The bite forces him to balance his new identity with the day-to-day teenage life and eventually helps protect his hometown, which he learns is a beacon for supernatural activity. So as I mentioned, I've heard a ton about the show from my friends, and as you guys can tell by my love for the Vampire Diaries, I'm super into the supernatural stuff, so I'm super excited to watch the show. So the next show I'm going to talk about is Grey's Anatomy. This show is super popular and it is so insanely long. There are 16 seasons of this show, which is insane to me, and I have no idea how people watch the entire thing, but definitely interested in starting. So the series follows the life of Meredith Grey, the daughter of esteemed general surgeon Alice Grey, starting from her acceptance into the surgical residency program at the fictional Seattle Grace Hospital. During her time as a resident, Grey works alongside fellow physicians Christina, Izzy, Alex, and George, who each struggle to balance their personal lives with hectic schedules and stressful residency requirements. So this show seems super interesting. There's definitely, I've heard, some drama, some romance, and of course the whole medical side. So I've heard a ton of good things about the show, and I'm super excited to watch it. So the next show I'm going to talk about is Criminal Minds. So this show follows a group of criminal profilers who work for the FBI as members of its behavioral analysis unit, using behavioral analysis and profiling to investigate crimes and find perpetrators. The show tells the story of the team as they work various cases and tackle their personal struggles. So I've actually seen a couple of episodes of the show, and from what I've been told, basically each episode they follow a different case, so they spend the whole like 40 minutes learning about the case and then solving it by the end. So this is a super good show just to kind of like watch one episode and then be able to return to it later and still know what's going on. I'm super interested in the whole forensic criminology type of stuff, so I'm super interested in watching this show. So the next show is kind of a sci-fi. It is called The 100. So when nuclear apocalypse destroys civilization on Earth, the only survivors are those on the 12 international space stations in orbit at the time. 3 generations later, the 4,000 survivors living on a space ark of linked stations see their resources dwindle and face drastic measures established to ensure humanity's future. Desperately looking for a solution, the ark's leaders send 100 juvenile prisoners back to the planet to see if it is safe to return. Having always lived in space, the exiles find the planet fascinating and terrifying, but with the fate of the human race in their hands, they must forge a path into the unknown. The show seems super interesting. I love reading sci-fi and stuff like that. The show is actually based on the book series 100, I believe, so that is super cool, but I'm super interested in the sci-fi stuff, so I'm definitely excited to watch the show. So I know I am a little late to the show, but the next one is Gossip Girl. This show is narrated by the unknown, omniscient blogger Gossip Girl. The series revolves around the lives of privileged upper-class adolescents living in Manhattan's Upper East Side. So basically the show follows the lives of these rich teenagers and kind of their struggles and life problems and stuff like that. As you can tell, this show is a drama and there's definitely some love triangles and stuff like that, so I am definitely interested in watching it. So the next show is Sherlock, based on Sherlock Holmes. So this show works similar to Criminal Minds, where each episode is a case, and so Sherlock, who is played by Benedict Cumberbatch, who we love as Doctor Strange in the Marvel Universe, so that is super cool. I believe the show only has 1 season right now, but I'm super excited to watch it, and hopefully they come out with more in the future. So This last show is called Living With Yourself. It is another comedy, and the main actor is actually Paul Rudd, who I love as Ant-Man in the Marvel Universe, but he plays a character who goes through a treatment where he is told that he will become the better version of himself, and instead he's cloned, and his clone is the better version of himself. So he's forced to live with this person who is him, but just better. So Paul Rudd, I've heard, is hilarious in this show, and it seems like a super fun comedy, and I am definitely interested in watching it. So those are all the shows I have for you guys. I hope you were able to add some to your list, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I will see you guys next time.